Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 23 of Big Brother season 23. Welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. All right, we had the live eviction last night, and no huge surprise. Oh, no surprise whatsoever. Brent went home, unanimous vote. The big surprise was that he wasn't surprised. Now, we knew that Derek F had kind of spilled the beans to Brent earlier, but I think while feeds were down yesterday, some other people did as well, because Brent really seemed to accept the fact that he was going home. So we missed out on the reactions of a true blindside. But Brent is gone, and after that, now here's the real exciting part of the evening. We had an HOH competition, pretty fun little competition, a 3D surfboard puzzle that had to be competed by the teams. So we had 4 surfboard puzzles that had to be completed. A player had, I think it was 25 seconds to work with, at which point they would have to run back to the starting point, hit a buzzer. The next teammate would then go back, continue the puzzle. If at any point you didn't hit your buzzer before time ran out, then that team was eliminated. Little confusing to watch, but I got to say this. I saw some bad puzzle solving skills going on. Somewhere out there, Caitlin Herman said, man, these house guests really suck at doing puzzles. There were some. They were going against the clock, and I think that got them a little more stressed out and a little more panicky because some bad puzzle solving. But eventually, Team Kings did solve the puzzle first. It looks like they solved it just a little bit before Derek X and the Aces, and looks like their time ran out anyway. But anyway, Team Kings won the competition. We weren't really sure. One of the things that Julie had mentioned was whoever solves the puzzle, the team member who solves the last piece, they become the new HOH. And it wasn't real clear from the camera work during the competition. But after the Kings won, it turns out that Christian had solved the last piece. So the entire Team Kings is safe for this week, and Christian is the new HOH. It probably saved him or Alyssa this week, who are likely going to be targeted by any of the other 3 teams if they had won HOH. So it saves them this week. But next week could be even a bigger target for Christian or maybe even more so Alyssa. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So on to the live feeds. We only had to wait about 10 minutes or so after the conclusion of the East Coast broadcast, the live broadcast of the show before the feeds came back on. And what do we see? Well, we see Christian and the others in the dining room. They're saying the next HOH has to be an endurance competition. Julie told the audience, didn't tell the house guests, but told the audience that next week is going to be an endurance. But the house guests have figured out as well. A little bit later in the evening, we hear Christian complaining a little bit that the endurance competition for HOH, and because he's the outgoing HOH, he's not going to be able to compete next week. So he doesn't like hearing that. But I think most of them in the house are excited that they're going to get an endurance next week. And again, they figured it out. So we see that. Team Jokers are all in the kitchen. They're fixing food. They are eating it as quick as they can. They're the only team that hasn't been a have-not yet. So they figure that they're probably destined to be have-nots for the week. So they're going to get as much food shoveled in quickly as possible. And they're right. Eventually, that is declared that they're going to be the have-nots. So we're going to see Brittany and Derek F and Ozan slop. And that may be kind of interesting. We'll see. Not that those 3 can't get a little emotional already. Let's see how they do when they're on slop for the entire week. We get a little conversation. I thought this was interesting. Alyssa is talking. They're all the house guests talking about the competition, as always happens. But Alyssa is saying that they didn't really understand how the HOH was picked, that they thought that once a team had won, then they would get together and decide who within that team was going to be HOH. Julie explained the rules, and so I'm a little surprised that they didn't understand it, but it was quick and it was rushed. And maybe that's the case, or maybe Alyssa is just trying to cover up for why Christian wanted and became the HOH. Just say, we didn't know. We thought we'd pick later, and it's just one. I'm not sure which it is. She's saying we didn't understand exactly how it works. Doesn't matter. Christian's the HOH at this point in time. We've got everyone in the kitchen or the living room going over comp and things like that, except for Whitney. Whitney is by herself in the yacht room, not looking good. She has to know that she's a potential target, right? I think so. I suspect so. I think she thinks that she's out on the outs with a lot of the folks. So I can't help but think she knows she's going to be a target. But later she comes back into the main room and says, I just got a headache. I'm just not feeling good. It may be a combination of that. a little stressed knowing that you could be the target at least also. Now, I noticed something while everyone's sitting around in the living room. Team Kings and Team Queens are cuddling together. They're very tight with each other. Kyland is with Sarah Beth and Alyssa. Tiffany and Claire are with Christian. So you've got Team Queens, Team Kings just right there next to each other. Xavier is the only one who's not doing that. He's sitting, I think, who was he with? I can't remember this point in time. Ozzy, I believe. But the rest of them, the two groups are together. It's very obvious sometimes when you look at who's sitting with who, you can figure out who the tighter relationships are with. And at least for this week, I don't see Kings and Queens going against each other. I don't think the Kings are going to be targeting the Queens. That may change. Remember, this is the last week of the team concept, and then it's all up in the air. We'll see what happens. All right, we have in the storage room, Team Kings are in there doing your typical celebration. They're all excited because they all have safety. It's not just Christian. The entire team has safety. So they're celebrating. They're laughing that they are a team of four, and after next Thursday, one of the other teams is going to be down to two people, and so they've got some other team outnumbered by two members. They better not be celebrating too much. Yeah, they are safe this week, but next week could be bad for Team Kings. Christian and Alyssa especially. They were already targets this week, right? And now, once they put some other people up on the block, now that they look like the little bit even tighter duo, I think it's going to be even tougher for them for the week following. And with the teams ending, is that going to take some of the pressure off? The Kings won't be seen as this group of four. Maybe, but I also think there's still going to be some residual. I think people still, the other team members or the other teams still view these four as fairly tight together. I think there's still going to be a lot of incentive to go after someone within that group. I think Xavier's a little protected by the Cookout Alliance. Christian and Alyssa, because they're a no-match, show-match, whatever you want to call them, I think they are going to be the ultimate target for next week. So they better be careful. All right, we do have some other conversations. Xavier is talking to Derek F, and he's real. They came back from feed, so I'm not sure exactly what set Derek F off, but he's not happy. He seems a little perturbed, and he has said, "Oh, I'm just so fed up with them." Alyssa and Christian is who he's talking about. He's saying, "Hey, when they were asking me what I would do if I won HOH, because remember, a lot of people were trying to talk about throwing the HOH to the Jokers." And Derek F is saying, oh, Alyssa was quick to throw Christian under the bus. Christian was quick to throw Alyssa under the bus. And yet now here they are in charge, their HOH. I just can't take it anymore. And he's upset with Whitney as well. Thinks that she'll betray and turn on anyone. Xavier is trying to cool Derek F down. He said, look, first of all, Whitney's not in power. She doesn't have the control this week. So chill on that. And then he's saying, as far as Alyssa and Christian, you got to just relax. Don't do anything that's going to cause issues, Derek. He said, I'm on that team. I'm in Team Kings, and I'm telling you, y'all's name, Team Jokers, hasn't even been brought up. There are other targets. You aren't being targeted this week. He said, I got you covered. I'm in the team. I'm good. You just need to chill, Derek. Derek F is saying, yeah, okay. He seems to take it okay, and I think he feels better that Xavier said they're not going to be targeted this week. We'll talk about that just a little bit. But yeah, Derek F definitely not having a good night. It's going to get worse after he goes through a day or two of slop. I absolutely believe. All right, other conversations. Tiffany and Ozzy are talking. Tiffany is telling Ozzy, saying, look, Whitney cannot win this wild card competition. That she, of all the people, she can't win. Saying this is going to be an important, or I think this is going to be an important competition. Whitney and Claire are going to be playing hard because both of them are at risk for going on the block. And either Derek or Ozzy, we don't know which one right now, but either Derek F or Ozzy will be playing for the Jokers. They may not be playing quite as hard, but Whitney and Claire are feeling the heat, and so they'll be playing tough. And I think the Final Temptation is going to be something that really shakes up the house dynamics. We haven't seen those Temptations picked yet. I think the last chance we get for the last week of teams, it's going to be something huge. And if Whitney or Claire have won the wild card competition, they're going to have to take it, right? They're going to have to take it. And who knows? The Kings may not be as safe as they want. I could see, I don't know what the wild card is going to be, but it's going to be something fun. And I think it's going to come into play this week. So we've got that. What else? Hannah and Derek X are talking. they're realizing that Whitney is almost certainly the target, and there's probably not a lot that they can do. Remember, these two are working together even closer now. Hannah just got Derek X yesterday, said, I want you to be my person. So these two, I think, are realizing Whitney may be gone. They're going to be kind of free agents. I'm not sure where they're going to end up and who all they're going to be working with. Now, Hannah's name has been mentioned as a target as well, so she's got to be a little careful. But assuming that Hannah makes it through this week, it's going to be interesting to see how she and Derek X land and exactly how the rest of their game works out. We've got also, let's see, same conversation. Hannah is saying that Xavier and Sarah Beth, no, that's interesting. Hannah is telling Derek X that Xavier and Sarah Beth are both on board with a plan to target and split up Christian and Alyssa before the jury. We can't have both of them going to jury together. We've got to send one or the other home. And Hannah is saying that Xavier and Sarah Beth are fine with throwing the HOH next week in order to make sure that Christian and Alyssa are exposed. Now, next week, the teams aren't in place as we know. They don't know. So there won't be team protection anyway. So Xavier may not have to throw HOH in order to have Christian and Alyssa exposed, but they don't know that. So they're saying, yeah, they're fine throwing the HOH. So the only person we really have to beat, because Christian can't compete, the only person we have to beat is Alyssa. And if we beat her, then we can send one or the other out the door. I hadn't heard this plan before. This is a new one. I don't know. It'll be fun. We'll see how that works out. And then a couple more things. The house guests are playing telephone and they're playing Mafia for a little while until eventually they get the Christian's room reveal. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go over that a whole lot. He got a letter from his mom and was very obviously very emotional about that. He got bologna in his refrigerator and he wasn't real sure why he got bologna. Keep this in mind. Christian was an alternate. They didn't know he was coming into the house until late. I'm not sure exactly how that works in terms of HOHs and baskets and what they have prepared for him and wish list and all of that. I don't know, but he's okay. He's got a lot of stuff he likes. We've got right after the room reveal, the Team Kings are staying in the HOH to talk. Everyone seems on board with Whitney and Hannah. The whole team has decided, and I truly think, well, we got wild card competition, but depending on what happens in wild card competition, the plan is to put Whitney and Hannah on the block. Now, after that, it gets a little bit more difficult in terms of who the primary target is. Xavier's trying to protect Hannah, part of the Alliance cookout. She knows about the cookout alliance. She knows about it as well now. So Xavier's trying to protect Hannah by making Whitney the main target, saying that, look, Whitney's going to target all four of us. Hannah, she really is only going to go after Sarah Beth, but Whitney's going to go after any of us. And he's telling Christian, saying, look, Whitney, if she's on the jury, she will never vote for a man. There's not a chance in the world. The other three members of the Kings, however, they're arguing that Hannah is actually the much bigger target, the much bigger threat. Alyssa is saying that everyone already wants Whitney out the door. We can get rid of her whenever. So let's use the HOH to get rid of Hannah instead. And we'll use Whitney as a shield. We don't have to send her home this week. That's not the priority. And now remember this, a few nights ago, Alyssa had already said that she wants Hannah gone because she thinks that Hannah likes Christian and that if she could get Alyssa out of the picture, who knows? So Alyssa has some personal motivation to send Hannah out as well. There's more arguing back and forth. We're not going to go over, they just keep bouncing back and forth which one should be the primary target. There's no need to split the team up over this right now. All they've got to do is pick the nominations. And really, until we've got the wild card, you don't even have to be so settled on that. But they've got a general plan. Put those two up for nomination. Wait and see what happens with the veto competition. And then see what the rest of the house is doing. You don't want to split your team up over something at this point. You just have to figure out who these two nominations are for now and talk about the rest of it later. Alyssa, more talking a little bit. Alyssa doesn't want Whitney to win the wild card or the veto. All right, let me start over because this is important, guys. Alyssa is saying, look, I don't want Whitney to win the wild card or the veto because if she's off the block, we're probably going to have to put Brittany on the block again. Can you imagine that? If Brittany is on the block a third week in a row, it's going to be a rough this could be a rough week inside the Big Brother house. Xavier and Christian are saying, look, if Brittany goes on the block again, I'm just ready to send her home. Now, I don't know if it's just because they don't want to handle the emotions that Brittany on the block a third time is going to bring, or it's because they're just fed up with everything. I'm not real sure, but Brittany, that's the problem when you're a perpetual pawn. At some point, especially if you're a little emotional about it, at some point that pawn turns into something else. So we'll see. So Brittany better be cheering for a non-Whitney victory in the wild card and the veto competitions. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, we've got Brittany talking to the rest of her team jokers, Derek F. and Azah, and she's saying, guys, nothing could be more negative than being on the block for 14 days in a row. I don't know, Brittany, how about 21 days in a row? I can think of something a little bit more negative. But they're all agreeing that they aren't really threats this week, that they just need to chill. They need to stay low, stay off the radar. I think it's Azah that says, let the beasts take each other out. We'll just sit back and we'll jump in a little bit later. So I think Xavier's conversation with Derek had some impact. And so they may just sit back and watch the show for this coming up week, as will we. Now, another alliance is formed, sort of, and I'm hesitant to even bring it up, but in the interest of fair and overall reporting, I'm going to do it. Another alliance is formed. This one involves the 4 members of the Team Kings who have decided to establish a Final Four together. They're going to have a Final Four alliance, and they've named this new alliance, and you'll never guess what it is. The alliance name is the Kings. Play the sad trombone. Really, that doesn't count as an alliance, but I guess it does. They're saying they're going to be Final Four. Not worth mentioning, except for the fact that with the team concept going away, you could see people distancing themselves. I could see Xavier and Sarah Beth distancing themselves from Alyssa and Christian once they realize that those two are such huge targets. And we've already heard Hannah's conversation saying they're willing to let those two get targeted. So we'll see. Is the Final Four truly going to be these 4? Are Xavier and Sarah Beth going to do what they can to protect Christian and Alyssa? Or as soon as the teams go away, are they going to step back and say, man, those are huge targets. I want nothing to do with them? No. We've got a couple more conversations before we shut it down. Kylan's talking to the camera. He's saying that he threw the HOH competition and that he really hopes it was a good decision. I think it was fine. I don't see the Queens being targeted this week. They're not who Christian and Alyssa are going after. So I think Kylan is fine with that decision. We've got Christian talking to Alyssa, saying that he's considering throwing the veto. And I guess that's just because he's worried about not looking like too much of a comp beast. So he's talking about throwing the veto. Yeah, we'll see if that actually happens or not. I have a feeling Alyssa's probably going to get in his head a little bit. She's going to really push the narrative that Hannah is the one that needs to go. And if she pushes that hard enough, Christian may end up fighting for that veto just to make sure that he can protect her. Protect her as in keep her on the block. I don't know. We'll find out. That they're also debating. They know they're a big target, even more so because they're in their no-man's showmance that's cuddled up, but we're just brothers and sisters, whatever you want to call it. But they're debating how much time Alyssa can actually spend in the HOH without looking suspect to the rest of the house. Well, I don't know how to tell the two of them this. The cat's already out of the bag. No one thinks that they're anything but a showmance. They can deny it as much as they want. They are already linked together. They will continue to be linked together as long as they stay in the house together. So spend all the time that you want upstairs if you want Alyssa. I don't think it's going to matter from a perception standpoint. But they're trying to figure out what they can do so it doesn't look so obvious. And actually, Alyssa is sleeping in the yacht room this week. But she's already talking about wondering if she may be able to sneak up to Christian's room in the middle of the night. And if someone catches her in the morning, just say, oh, I came up here to shower. Okay. Yeah. Just enjoy your time, Alyssa. No one's buying that y'all aren't a showmance at this point in time. And finally, one last little conversation, quick one. Xavier's talking to Alyssa about the nomination speech, trying to help Alyssa tell Christian what he needs to say. And I think the key of it is say, look, just say both of them, we think that y'all would target us, and therefore we've got to put you up first. Nothing real complex, but Alyssa wants to make sure it's nothing too complex. She tells Xavier, she says, look, you need to, if you're going to help us with the nomination speech, You got to keep it simple for Christian's benefit. Take from that what you will. All right, guys, exciting night. We'll see what happens. Team Kings, they had to have this HOH win. They got it. Now we'll see what Christian does with his power. We know who the targets are. I'm really curious to see, though, if we see some divisions. You've got Whitney on one side, who's a target by a lot of people, but you've also got Hannah, who's part of the Cookout Alliance. She's going to be protected by a lot of people. But you also have Christian and Alyssa really driving to get her out of the house. We'll see which powers and which control takes over this week. It's going to be fun. This morning, we're going to have the wild card competition. That could be exciting. I'm telling you, there's going to be some huge power, and I'm ready for it. And then we're going to have the nomination. So we'll have all that information tomorrow. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Friday, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Cheers, my friends. SKD 143. Bye.